Hey everybody, welcome to Growth Rising. I'm Bird, and here on this channel, I just talk about so much stuff dealing with astrology, because learning astrology was something that was so eye-opening to me that I just want to share with everyone else, and plus the people in my life that get tired of hearing me always talking about it. So, I mean, sometimes they do be interested though, but sometimes they just be like, I don't want to hear that right now. Like, I don't want to know how the sun is talking to, Mercury, or how the moon is, in opposition to Neptune or something like that. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about the big three: the sun, rising, and moon signs. And I remember hearing something saying where this guy was saying, before I date somebody, I want to know more than just their sun sign. I want to know their rising and their moon, which, I mean, that can be beneficial, especially if you know like where the ruler of these planets are based on their chart, like what house and what sign these planets are in. But that's a whole different story. I sometimes just try to dial it back a little bit. I got notes so I can stay on task, well, on topic. But yeah. So the sun sign, the sun sign is about your core. It's about like your ego, and um almost everyone can see your sun sign on you. Like, not necessarily like look at you and be like, oh, you're a Taurus. No, not necessarily like that. But they could, like, you'll have that. Sometimes you have that vibe, but sometimes people can pick up on your rising sign instead of your sun sign. But anyway, your sun sign it changes every month. Not necessarily like from the first day of the month to the last day of the month. It's more like from like the 20th or 20 something of each month to into that same day of the next. Well, not the same day, but close to that day. It's like always in the 20s, except for in February, where it's like the 19th, because February does only have 28 days. But with the amount of days that we have, it all, like, all the months could have been split it up evenly. I don't know why they're not evenly, but they could have been. That's the point. But anyway, next we're gonna talk about the rising sign. Now, see, the rising sign, that's like what people pick up on when they first meet you. Like, they actually meet you, they actually get to know something about you. It's like your persona. It's okay. The sun sign is like the building, the building, with the sign on it and everything. It's, you want to keep that up to par because that's the ego. The ego likes to be egoing or egoish or whatever. And the rising sign is like the receptionist. So when you walk into the building, you see the receptionist right there. So that's the first person who you meet, and that's the first person who you're talking to. So that's who the rising sign is. Sometimes people may pick up on, like, notice the receptionist before they notice the big sign on the building. That's what I mean when sometimes people can pick up on your rising sign before your sun sign. Because I know a friend of mine who, like, she can tell you what her sun sign is, but her rising sign, to me anyway, her rising sign speaks so much louder than her sun sign. Like, even just looking at her, which I know you can't always tell by looking at somebody, but like looking at her, I was really thinking, she's like, her rising sign would be this. And it was that whenever we actually, looked at her birth chart. And I was like, you know what? I can definitely see that on you because her rising sign is like a Scorpio. And so she already has RBF. Like, she don't even try it, but she has RBF. And people always find her intimidated for whatever reason. And I'm just like, I can kind of see that. But the fact that people automatically find her intimidated before she even says or does anything, to me, I was like, yeah, I know her rising sign is something else, but she got some Scorpio in her chart. And I was actually, like, I was kind of happy I was right. Because, I was like, I don't know, it's like with Scorpios, they can really be intimidating to people. People can really be kind of frightened or nervous around Scorpios, even though they don't have to do anything to anybody. They could just exist, and all of a sudden, a Scorpio is like comes into the room, and some people are just going to get uncomfortable or they're going to feel some type of way. It's not anything to do with the Scorpios themselves. I feel like it's more of that person themselves, because if somebody hasn't done anything, well, this isn't a Scorpio video, but for all you Scorpios out there, I know that people might find you intimidating, but you know, all of us don't. Some of us, we just really do want to be cool with you. So, and your rising sign, you do have to know your time of birth for your rising sign, because it's whatever sign was on the eastern horizon at the time that you were born. So your rising sign, it changes every 2 hours. So you and, I don't know, a cousin of yours could have been born the same day, or a friend of yours, but that doesn't mean that y'all have that same rising sign, because if y'all were born 2 hours apart, 4, 6, 8, however many hours apart, y'all are going to have those different rising signs. And once those 2 hours are gone for that day, nobody else in that daytime will have that same rising sign. You have to be born within that time period to get that rising sign. Because once it's gone, it's gone. There's only 12 signs altogether, and there's only 24 hours in a day. So 12 signs, 24 hours, every 2 hours, that sign's going to change. If you missed it on that one, then you got to get on the next one. Next, we're going to go into the moon sign. And see, the moon sign, it does deal with emotions and your relationship to feelings, or how you handle your feelings and all of that. Um, the moon sign, well, the moon itself is reflective. So that's kind of why some people determine the moon as more of a feminine energy and the sun is more of a masculine energy, just because the sun is so boastful and big and bright that it wants to shine its light, like it's being very dominant. And the moon is more laid back, chill, and it receives some of the lights from the sun to also bounce off. But that's just kind of like on the traditional aspect of it. Um, Also with the moon sign, it also deals with how you feel safe, like what makes you feel safe and secure. And also the moon is also related to the mother, because the mother is usually nurturing. I know that's not the case for everyone in their individual lives, but um people usually find that the mother is the more nurturing parent. That's why the moon is associated with that. I mean, we are right here in Cancer season right now. And so, like, because, the moon rules Cancer. But, the, like, Cancers are pretty nurturing. They like to help people. And that's a lot from the moon. And also, the moon deals with like your body rhythm, or like menstrual cycles, your sleep cycles. And I remember reading something years ago about how back in the day, before they had clocks and all of that, they thought that, well, they think that the way that people would find out what time it was to go to sleep, because the moon would come up, and that would make people feel more tired, and they're not getting all that energy from the sunlight. They're getting some of that relaxation from the moon, and plus it's darker outside, so they probably didn't want much to do at that point. But that's how some people feel like people knew that it was time to relax and lay down and wind down from the day. And the moon, it changes signs every couple of days. So like the moon is on a 28-day cycle. So every 28 days, the moon's in a different, well, it's in a new cycle basically. And because the moon is not on that same strict, rigid cycle that the sun is on, because every year the sun is entering into a new sign at the same time. Like if you were born, on the first day of Cancer season, it doesn't mean that next year your birthday is going to be in Gemini season. It doesn't work like that. It's for the sun. But as far as like with the moon, because we have our new moon and our full moon every month. And so it doesn't necessarily be on that same cycle every single month, because Sometimes you might have your new moon first, and then you might have your full moon, and then other times it'll be the full moon and then the new moon. It could be in whatever, like different signs, but you are going to have those every month. And also you have to think about what phase the moon was in when you were born, because that will also affect how a person reacts to, you know, emotions and their relationships to feeling, because it's not just what sign is in, it's also what phase it was in. Was it the waxing gibbous moon? Was it a full moon? Was it a new moon? That will also affect, you know, the person. But yeah, whatever, like um with all of these planets, well, the rising sign is not technically a planet, it's just that eastern horizon. But with all of these, whatever um sign that your rising planet is in, well, that your rising sign is in, that planet, like wherever it is in your chart, that'll also affect how you are within your rising sign, because it's connected. So like however, like let's say you are a Capricorn rising, and so Saturn is in, oh, let's say that your Saturn is in Cancer. So your Saturn is not at its strongest at all, because, you know, Saturn is more of rules and regulations, and Cancer is more of, you know, feeling and all of that. That'll affect how you are in your rising sign. Just like if your sun sign is in Aquarius, and well, Aquarius, it does traditionally have, it's traditionally also ruled by Saturn, but is modernly ruled by Uranus. So you can look at both of those planets, or if you just want to focus on traditional, you can just look at Saturn, but you can look at where those planets are. So all of this right here will affect how your sun, moon, and rising are, you know, interacting with each other, and how you are on a, just as a person. It will affect that. But yeah, as far as your sun sign, it's your ego. Your sun sign is the big sign that's on the building. Your rising sign is the receptionist, and the moon sign is like the first doctor that you meet, like the nurse. Well, we're just gonna say the nurse. We're gonna say the moon sign is the nurse, because nurse and nurturing, it just goes hand in hand. So you have your sun, which is the sign, the rising, which is the receptionist, and the moon, which is the nurse. So that's just kind of how people will get to know you, because people who don't know you won't just, you know, automatically guess like, oh, your moon is in Aquarius. How would you know? You don't know me. But yeah, um that's all I have for today. I just wanted to talk about the big three really quick. And I might go more into depth into each one of them, you know, in the future. I might even create another series. But yeah, I hope you liked the video, and I hope you have a good day.